Hey everyone, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I'm your host, Andrew Davis, and this episode is brought to you by my sponsor, BCW Supplies, which is a comic supply company. Bags and boards are expensive, and you want to protect your comics. So use Pop Anime Comics to get 10% off your order, save yourself some money, and obviously protect your property while you do it. As well as I do have a t-shirt that is up on Redbubble. It is making fun of Gundam, Taco Bell, the most interesting man in the world, as well as a reference to Fallout. Pick that shirt up on Redbubble. 16 colors are available. You can pick whatever color suits you best. And then finally, I do have my metal cards up on my eBay store from my Kickstarter. It's $10 for the metal card, so you can pick that bad boy up as well. And without further ado, I have with me graphic designer and comic cover artist Eduardo Guzman. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Andrew.
I am very, very excited to have you on because obviously I was joking with Ben Lacey on Shark of War. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great cover, and I'm just broke and I can't afford anything in my life right now. So, but and you have a very cool style where it's almost anime, new school, pinup style. And so I am curious before we really dive into all of that, how did you get into art and into drawing? And because you're sort of a little bit late to the game, but you're also really new to the game too. You're early.
Yeah. Well, how did it happen? Well, since I was a little boy and made this like effect, visual effect that we're talking a long time ago. I always started. I always liked to draw and stuff, but the truth is that when I was about 12, 13 years old, I think, I saw the Death of Superman comic, and I was blown by it. I was blown by it. I mean, as a kid, I was used to watch Superman in cartoons, but when I saw the Death of Superman, I knew that there was some different stuff. I mean, it was violent, it was bloody, it was powerful. It was very fun, and well, uh, that's what the first thing that dragged me to drawing comics. And I remember some of the artists that I was looking, and I was like very fan of it. For example, I remember the first comic artist that I really loved his job was Dan Jurgens in Action Comics. He was awesome, and I really love
I
his
love
style.
Dan. Dan's great. Dan
Yeah,
is
I
great.
know. And I mean, obviously, when I started to go into my 16 and 18, um, well, I saw Jim Lee's style, and well, I was blown by it also. But the bad thing with Jim Lee art is that he like influenced a whole bunch of artists that was like a ripoff of him, from, and I don't want to be mean, but from Chris Claremont to a thousand of them, and suddenly from the 90s, like everyone wanted to make drawings the same, everyone wanted to look a lot like Jim Lee's art. And well, that didn't it didn't appeal to me, you know
So,
why
so,
I
so, so
was.
let me ask you about that because
Yeah.
this is one of the things that obviously I'm not an artist. I'm a writer, so I appreciate certain people's writings, and I want to be like their writing. But then also, I'm a big fan of dirty realism, so I like to sort of fuse writing styles, and I like to talk about money and other things, and I like to write more nonfiction
Mhm.
oriented than fiction oriented. But as an artist, like there's certain artists that I love that I would kill to be able to even emulate even like a tenth of what they can do. And so, what is that like for you to be like, oh, I see Jim Lee and he's killing it, and a variety of other artists, but everybody's now trying to rip him off a little bit, and then you're sort of put off because this goes into inspiration and other things saying, hey, I get that this guy's talented, but I don't know if I want to be like a disciple of him, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I know. Well, in Mexico, we have a saying that you have to choose if you want to be the lion's tail or the mouse head. You know.
I
Uh,
love that saying. I love that
yeah, I
now.
know.
I can feel that. Totally.
Yeah, I know, because you have to choose if you want to be the lion's tail. I mean, you can be a part of the lion, but you're gonna be at the end. You're gonna be right at the bottom. But if you're the mice head, well, you're the head. Maybe you're small, but you're the head, you know, and you can choose your own path and your own way. So even when I was even if when I was young, I mean, I didn't want my style to look like Jim Lee art. I don't like all that. Like the bunch of accessories and a lot of lines. I can do it. I mean, as an artist, I think every artist can emulate other artists, but I don't think it's my. I don't. I never thought that was my purpose, and like right now, you look at my art. I'm trying to make my very own style, you know, not to look like everyone's style. I have this combination like anime cell shading with this comic expression, and I think it's coming very clean and very myself. If you see my art, you're gonna know I did it. And I think it's the same with Jim Lee. I mean, you can have a lot of, like people that want to be that want to draw like Jim Lee, you know. But in the end, you see a Jim Lee art in one hand, you see the other one, and you're gonna know what Jim Lee did, And I wanted that. I wanted that my art was very distinctive from any other.
So even to talk about that, because this is fascinating, and obviously you have a unique style where I was going through Ben Lacey's Shark of War, and I'm like, oh, who is this cover? And I was joking around saying, man, this is the cover you got to push everywhere out there to Ben. And what was this like really figuring out this style? Because it is unique, because it is that blend of new school with anime, with obviously comics, and it's got, I'm not exactly sure that pinup-y style as well. And I'm purposely dropping very descriptive words where obviously I had Steph Wilson on. I don't know if you know who Steph Wilson on, who he is, but Steph has a very, cartoony new school style. And it's a Steph Wilson, and I know it's an Eduardo Guzman style at this point. So how did you even build and develop that style? Because there are very few people who have a similar style that you do right now.
How did I came up with it? I think it came out of necessity, because it's like, to be honest, I was saying to you before the show started. I was mentioning that I just started to get into the game, into making art and making it, to expose it on social media. And well, the thing is that when I started to do my drawings, I went into Facebook artwork groups, and I saw some of the work of some people there, and I was blown away. I mean, the first thing I noticed is that anime and Japanese style drawings is like everywhere. I mean, it's booming. And if you look at it, for example, like all anime series that are pumping out of Japan right now is like just floating all media, and they have some great shows. Like, for example, Attack on Titan, that is totally action oriented. Or, for example, last week I finished watching a comedy that is like Comic Can Communicate, and
I'm a big anime fan. In case you haven't known that, I mean, my logo is that little elf up there, and that's completely straight out of anime.
Yeah, no, anime is great. I mean, I've been a fan of anime since very young age. One of my first anime that I saw was obviously Akira, because
I know Akira.
I when I was very young, I started to love comic books, and I remember that I wanted to be a collector. So I bought this magazine that was called Wizard, just to check on prices and stuff like that, And I was going crazy for that. And they had like 1,000 pages, but like maybe some 50 pages of that magazine, they were pumping like, oh, you should watch anime. You should watch like Vampire Hunter D. You should watch Akira and some other Bubblegum Crisis and some other anime. So I started to watch those, and one of the things that actually you can relate to as an artist is that just the same. For example, if you look at an animation by this guy, what's his name? Misayo Hamasaki, the thing from Ghibli Studios,
Oh, Miyazaki.
Miyazaki. You know, if you look at Miyazaki's animation, he has a distinctive style. I mean, you can look at thousand anime.
I don't think he has a distinctive style at all. I think the guy is beyond versatile. Like, I really think, like, I know what a Studio Ghibli at film looks like, where it is top to bottom clean. It is beautiful. It's saturated. We don't count Ponyo, everybody. We don't count Ponyo because Ponyo was a rough one. I like
Yeah, no,
Ponyo. Don't get me wrong. I think Ponyo is a perfectly fine movie, but it is not one of the better ones. But
no, no,
Mononoke,
not at all. Mononoke,
fantastic.
Princess Mononoke is just fantastic, or Holding Castle, and those are
Castle was good. Castle in the Sky was great. I mean, this is what me and
Castle.
my friends do. We go to the movie theater because they play it all the time in the movie theaters where I live, and that's like our like once a week thing or once a
Awesome.
month thing, I should say. And it's great because it's fun to see this stuff.
Yeah, no, and that's what you get from. That's what I got from anime. No matter what artist you are in animation or in Japan, every artist don't want to emulate other artists. Yeah, and that's what was different from looking at artists in Japan and artists in the States. Artists in the States, they all wanted to make something like pretty similar to each other. They wanted to do the same. In Japan, everyone wanted to differentiate from the others, you know, and that's why I started to like really fusion those both styles, you know, because for example, what I like about anime is mainly what you said is that this clean art, this clean, very stylistic art. But for example, one thing I don't like about Japanese drawing or anime is that lines are very thin, and I feel it takes away a little bit of the power that the drawing can have, you know, and
So,
that's where.
so that's interesting because I really like how crisp anime is. Obviously, I appreciate it, but I've also read things that are thick lined animes and mangas. And I also read very weird things. Like, I love Vagabond and I love Lone Wolf and Cub. But then again, I've read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which has thin lines too. So
Mhm.
that's fascinating because it doesn't bother me as much as I would imagine maybe it bothers you because I'm like, okay, that's just a style and it looks just crisper to me. And that's how I view it. But at the same
No, no,
time, I
it's
also
I don't have like I don't like it. It's just that, for example, thick lines. What I see on thick lines is that they hold power, you know, and they make everything just like feel more stronger, more impactful. I don't know if you get my idea. And for example, one thing I do admire from manga artists is like when they use thin lines, is how they use them. But for example, just to show movement, dynamic movement, they use a lot of thin lines, and they can have a very complex scene and it still look crisp and clean, you know, and that's what I admire of them. But I didn't want my art to look like anime. You know, I wanted my art to look more like comic book with the aesthetics of anime.
so let's even talk about that because obviously, and I don't know how familiar you are with what's going on in the US market and comics versus manga and graphic novels versus manga. I mean, 2021, the manga section on Amazon and in Barnes and Noble and in comic shops and other places destroyed the comic section. I mean,
I know.
it's not a fair fight. And this is not me being mean to comics. Manga is destroying comics as far as sales. Not like saying comics, you're done, your business is shit.
Why would you think is that?
What did you say?
Why would you think is that? Why do you think? I have my own reason. I have my own ideas. But what would you think that manga is destroying comics?
There are three things that I think, and I'm actually curious your opinion. But what I think it is that I think that manga is faster, just on a production level, where you're getting 18 pages every single week. So
Yeah.
In a month, I am getting 64 pages, and I don't have to wait around for another month. I only am waiting weekly. Secondly, there are more interesting stories that I feel, and there's long form stories, and I'm getting 50 chapters of that story every single year, give or take, maybe 48, because people want a vacation, and I totally want my artists to have 4 weeks off of their own personal life, because I don't think people understand how complicated it is to make a manga. It's a 6-day, like 20-hour work week, essentially, for these guys.
I believe it. I believe it.
It's insane. And then, so I think those are sort of one right there. Secondly, in the US, you go to Barnes and Noble, I could get 10 chapters for $10. It is cheap. And that's the thing too, that I can go and I could buy a manga like Dragon Ball Super for $10. And I'm getting 200 pages for $10. Where I can't, a comic book in a comic shop for 24 pages from Marvel is, like $6 now, or it's $5 now. It's kind of crazy. If you think about it, I'm getting 24 pages and I get it's full color. It's Captain America or it's She-Hulk or it's something else. But it's also, I got to now wait another month. Now it's an okay story. It's a similar story to certain mangas, but I'm getting a lot less of it. And it's also, sometimes it's not even readily available and it's not accessible for me to purchase. And so I think those are the two things. And then frankly, I mean, story-wise, a lot of these comics are not good stories right now.
Yeah.
I mean, One Piece, Naruto, I'm reading Rise of the Shield Hero. It's entertaining. It's a great story. And that's the problem, is that there's a lot of what I feel to be laziness. I mean, I've read a bunch of bad comics that look beautiful, but they're not great. And look, I read a lot of comics too, because I read on Comixology, but I'm borrowing the book. But on a Comixology level, if I don't like the book in the first 10 pages, I just return the book back to Comixology. I pay my $6.37 every single month, and I don't worry about it. So that's why I think, manga is beating out comics, because I think it's all those things where it's just cheaper, better stories and accessible, and there's more of it out there right now. And I think that people are saying, look, I'm just sick of the comic market sucking. But I'm curious what you.
That's where I'm going right now. For example, and I do agree with you. The first thing that why manga is killing it, and it's actually doing numbers on comics. It's because of the stories.
I'm gonna add one more thing. I mean, I'm 29. I've been watching anime and manga since I was 6. So I now am coming, and my generation is now coming into money. And my generation in the next 3 or 4 years is going to start having kids, which is a whole new market that's going to be tapped. I have people who I grew up with high school who have like a 2-year-old, that I know of. And I'm like, wait till that 2-year-old's 6, 7 years old. And then what was I reading when I was 7? If I have a kid, I'm going to give my kid that. I'm going to give my kid Dragon Ball when they're 7 or 8. And so now I'm going to re-buy Dragon Ball. And so that's the other thing that I think is also going to be very influential moving forward, is that I'm going to push onto my kid what I was reading and all the bad stuff I was reading too, because that turned out perfectly fine.
Yeah. See, what I was going to tell you is that actually manga is killing at stories, because the problem with comics is like manga has its tropes and its cliches, and they're very predictable sometimes. But manga has become very predictable for the Japanese audience, not for the American audience. We are still looking at as novelty, and we American consumers, and I'm we, because even yeah, if I am from Mexico, we are North America. Um, we look at comics and we see all the same. All the same. Great art. I mean, there are some great artists here in America, but the stories are just pretty much the same, with all the same archetypes, with all the same tropes, with all the same, cliches. And that's what's very difficult about comics right now. And for example, and I'm going to be doing this with Ben Lacey right now. For example, when I saw Ben Lacey's comic, you know, I thought my first thought is just, to be honest, not to be crass, but I thought it's just like, this is some weird art, But the story, as the more you read it, actually, the more fun it gets, because the Shark of War, it is not meant to be a drama. It doesn't want to be more than it is. It wants to be fun.
I'll take a stab at describing Shark of War, because I had Ben on last week, and I described it saying it's the cheesy B movie you get drunk and watch with your friends type of comics.
I know, but it's fun.
No, I didn't say it was bad. I said this is fun. It's the type of comic that I want to get hammered and I want to just watch it as a movie. I'm not interested. Sometimes a movie doesn't have to be good to be successful. Good does not mean successful. Sometimes a movie doesn't have to be an Oscar award game-changing performance. Shark of War is not going to be the game-changing comic. I think Shark of War can be a brilliant comic because it's the point of what a comic is supposed to be, and it's supposed to distract me from how messed up the world is right now. When I read Shark of War, I am entertained, and that's what I look for in a comic at this point, because guess what? Life's hard.
The coolest thing about Shark of War, you know what it is not because the story is like, as you said, this game breaker or anything, but it's the risk it takes, the chances it takes. It goes completely out of the box.
Oh, you're thinking way too deep. We have machine guns on a shark, dude. Like, seriously. How much more fun can you get in a comic? Legitly, like, that's the opening line. His entire Kickstarter be like, I have machine guns on a shark. Like, who does not want to read this? Like, I'm just saying.
But the thing is that, let's say, for example, I remember that a few years back, I was surfing on Netflix, and well, my daughter loves to see these like Korean shows, and I just hate them, because I just like I like, oh man, they're all with like romance and stuff and like that. But suddenly I saw a title that I thought that it was the most ridiculous thing ever, and I ended up watching it till the end because I thought it was a lot of fun, and I became fan of it. And it's the show is called, I think, My Love from the Stars, and the premise sounds like totally taken out of nowhere. It's like you're being drunk and having the idea and just run with it. An alien comes from outer space and falls in love with a like an artist supermodel from Korea, and they are like doing this crazy story, and actually it became a very successful story worldwide. And why is that? Not because of production values, not because, even though it had, and not because it had like very famous actors, though it had, I mean, Korean actors, maybe not famous in America. But the thing is that the show took something very different and took something completely out of the box and then just run away with it. That's what's lacking in comics. That's what's lacking in comics. Take an idea and just run with it. Not just. I mean, I don't want to see it. I don't want to be mean, but I hope it's not like the best ideas that DC and Marvel has recently is just turning their characters sexual preference, and that's not a game changer.
So I think the best thing that DC did was Deceased. Deceased was brilliant by DC because you know what it is? It was like a vampire zombie horror thing with their characters. It was not canon. And guess what? Who doesn't want to see a vampire zombified Harley Quinn? That's fun. That's just fun. And that's out of the box. And it's like, okay, how are the next 6 issues? How are we going to have a zombie Harley Quinn walking around trying to do zombie things, but still being Harley Quinn? And then we have Batman as a vampire or a zombie or a werewolf. And now we have all the DC characters as monsters, but they're still their characters. And then they have to deal with this threat of Deceased Planet. And well, now you got a very interesting story. But guess what? It's not canon. So if you kill off Superman, it doesn't matter. It's great because you can do things in a non-canon universe. And Deceased was great because it was also only 6 issues. So it wasn't a commitment. And that's the thing, too, I think is a big problem with comics is, look, if you're making me come around for 25 issues at $4 a pop, that's $100. And maybe, you know, for some people, $100 isn't a big deal. But for me, it's a little pricey.
Yeah, no, I know, and it's that's the word commitment, and I think that's the key. You know, that's why I believe right now I'm working already again with Ben Lacey for a next project that I think it's gonna be, well, something really, really, really great. You know, I can't say what it's gonna be about, but I can honestly say it's gonna be fun, and may it
We,
just
we, we,
has.
we can tease a little bit. We can tease a little bit because I know a little bit about it. There's going to be some sexy girls in it. It's gonna be down, you know, sort of in warm waters, and
I
possibly
know,
in the
I know.
Caribbean. And I don't think he's gonna mind me saying because he already said some stuff of this project on air. But he didn't tell me too much. So beyond that, but there's gonna be some sexy girls in it, and
Oh
it's gonna
yeah,
be a
oh
little
yeah.
less shark. A little less shark is a good way to put it.
It's gonna be less sharp, but it still is gonna have a lot of teeth, you know. And yes, it has a lot of ladies, and yes, they're gonna be like all well endowed, but there's gonna be much more to it. And you know that's why I actually look. Ben sent me his script, and I read it, and he asked me, he's like, can you would you like to be on board of this project? And to be honest, just to be honest, I wouldn't just get on board any project because since what you said, yes, I arrived late to the party, but I want to shine on that party, you know. So I need something great to work with, you know. And it's not just going to be with, you know, just a girl is not gonna cut it, you know. Just having sexy girls on a comic book is not gonna cut it. I mean, there's a lot of sexy girls in a billion comics today with today creators and a lot of artists that are already doing it, but
So,
you have to have a story to back it up.
let's even talk about that because obviously I'm a huge Zenescope fan, and Zenescope I think has good interior art, but they're known for their covers, and they get people like Dawn Mateague, Ebas, Sun Kumanaki, Keith Garvey, and all of those people come in, and then there's a bunch of other people who also do really good work. You know, Anthony Spaz then worked for them, Elias Chazus, who was just in Hustler magazine of all places for an interview, which is a big deal. Um, and so you have really all these top artists who come in to Zenescope and they're sexy covers and sexy girls. So, and the reason why I'm asking you this question is that because you could have a normal book without any sexy stuff and just have a great story, but then you could have a sexy girl on a cover, which does cut it to some degree because people like to collect covers. So it's fascinating that you say, hey, look, it's not anymore having a sexy girl in a book. You know, you need to have substance. I mean, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you find good guys to be interesting in comic books or even in TV shows?
Do I find what?
Do you find good guys to be interesting?
Good guys. Do I find good
Yeah,
guys to be interesting in comics or in
yeah, in
stories?
comics and in stories. Because
Well, yeah,
I could tell you my answer. I don't. I don't find the good guys to be that interesting. It's really the bad guys that I want to find out who, why they're doing
it's
something.
because I think a character is principally like a hero is only as good as its villain, you know. You can have I mean, a villain, a bad guy. What ultimately is, it's a reflection of the good guy. But the good guy chooses to be the good guy for a reason, you know. That's what should be interesting about the good guy. Not why he's a good guy, but not because he's a good guy. He's had to be likable. I mean, in the real world, here in the real world, you can know some pretty good people, and think they are a bunch of suckers. And it tells me that it is real.
The reason why I ask this is because I view having sexy girls in a comic, it's fun, but it's not interesting by itself. It really
Oh
isn't.
no,
I mean,
oh no, it's not.
at this stage in the game, the reason why it's not that interesting is because, well, I can go on Google and type in girls in bikinis and I'm satisfied just the same if that's what I'm looking for. And I don't mean to be crude or crass about it, but it's the idea that I now need a reason why they're there. What makes these characters special? And so it's fascinating because I know plenty of people say, hey, look, I'm an artist, I'm hungry, and I need to be paid today. So, I'll work on any book if the pay is right. And they might enjoy the project, but they don't have to love the project. And so that's interesting because I think that's part of the problem in comics right now is that a lot of people are work for hire and they're like, yeah, I'll just do this project. I don't care as long as I'm getting paid my 4 issues. It's 10 grand and I'm good to go.
How
So
how, how can you look? There's as an artist, I can tell you this. There's nothing more emotionally tolling than actually make a drawing, put it out there for everyone to critique. You know, that's not easy. And if you're an artist and you are just doing work for hire, not doing your best, not putting out artwork that really convinces not only your public but yourself as something very good, what you're doing is you're just putting out uh how can I say this? Just run of the mill artwork, you know, and that's why you don't get look you don't get really good work. For example, when I came up with Shark of War cover number 5, the first thing I did is read all 4 books. And when I read them, yeah, as you can see, when I did that, what was cool about it, is that I knew. I mean, I wanted to have a sexy girl at the center of the cover. I mean, that's for sure. But for example, you have to sell in the cover. You have to sell the conflict that is coming. At the center of that conflict is that woman. But there are elements to that conflict: the shark, the piranhas, the military. Everything is coming right around her. You know, that's what I like about this cover. You know, in the sexy girl is not like biting her lip, or she's not like like grabbing a butt. She's not trying to look sexy. She's sexy, but she's not trying to look sexy. She's actually just worried. She's just looking at the battle that is coming, you know. And that's what I love about this work, you know, that you look at it and not only you are stunned by the girl, but the shark is looking awesome. The shark is looking menacing. He has these 2 big guns on his sides, and you have these piranhas that have those terrible feet, and you have helicopters. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff happening on the cover. And if you're not convinced as an artist that that cover should sell that story, how can you come up with a good cover?
Yeah, no. I think that there's some fair points there, and I think it applies to a lot of things, though. I don't think it's just art. I think obviously, I believe in my show, and I believe what I'm doing, and I believe that I am on the right track to growing. And obviously, sometimes in life, we don't have the exact tools we need at the right moments, but this show is progressively going in the correct direction. And I really think that at some point, I'm going to make real money with this thing. Um, but also, I think there's plenty of people who just say, "Hey, make me a cover," and they do a great cover because so you're like, "Okay, cool, I know how to do this." And so, but I definitely think best work does come out of when people believe in a project.
Well, they're invested on their project. That's why. I mean, even if, as an artist, I can tell you that there are times that I have been commissioned artwork, and when I don't like the idea of what I'm doing, when I don't like what I was asked for, I mean, I can finish the artwork. I can make it work. You know, but I mean, it's like when if you were commissioned to make a car, a sport car. You know, I mean, you can make a sport car just like with big wheels, big engine, big tail, red color, and there you go. You got a sport car. But then again, you're like, oh man, I just want this car to show off. And then you make it with like thin lines, and you make it more Italian, and you put some big wheels, but also some exhaust. That's why if you're not invested on the artwork you're doing, well, it can come okay, and maybe that's a testament to your talent, but it doesn't mean that's the best you can do. That's not the best you can offer. And the problem is, not only happens that on illustration, it also is also happening in writing. If you're not completely committed to what you're gonna write about, well, it's like, I mean, everyone knows Game of Thrones, but the writer for Game of Thrones books, he takes like forever to write one book, and more than I don't think he's a lazy writer. I don't think he's just like, oh man, I don't feel like writing today. I don't think it is that. I think he is really invested on what he's writing, and that makes a very good and compelling story. And when you mix a compelling story with great artwork, then and then you have some amazing work. But even even if your artwork sucks, if you have a great story, and even if the artist is not that good, but he's fully committed to the story he's making, even if the artwork is lacking, you're gonna have a great story, and gonna have a great comic book.
See, this is really interesting because one of the things that I think a lot of people in comics don't understand is that at this stage, money is important in comics, but I don't think it's the most important thing in making a comic. I think there are three things that are really important. I think understanding social media is a big deal. At this point, I think you need to understand social media or hire somebody who does. Just because if nobody sees your project, it doesn't matter if it's the greatest in the world, which is just logical. So you need marketing. But then secondly, I think you and your artist, or if you're the writer or you're the artist, you need to be on the same page. I know people who have had issues with writers, and I know artists who have had issues with writers, and writers who have had issues with artists. And it's the middle of the book, and issue 3 and 4 of that book are going to be very different than issues 1 and 2. And I think
And
that's something that's very interesting because if you don't have somebody or you don't have an artist who is fully committed or says, hey, this is where I'm throwing my attention to, and obviously, indie comics is a little bit different and it's hard to say, I need you to be 150% on this book because people in the indie comic world have day jobs. But even if on, my Saturday, I'm getting 4 pages done, it's kind of like, I don't think you're going to be taking on another project or at least 3 or 4 more projects while you're working on Ben Lacey's next book. You know what I mean? And that's something that I think people need to fully understand, is that when you're looking for your artist, you need to almost be asking those questions. How busy are you? What
Yeah.
is your relationship with, if Andrew hits you up, and if I hit you up, are you available to take on Andrew's project and my project at the same time? And it could very well be that Ben is like, look, I need 6 months between books just for the finances. And then you can take on my project in between those positions. And if I had a project I wanted you as my artist, and obviously I'm pretty sure it could be coordinated technically, or you might say, hey, look, you might have to wait 6 months for me to get all this done. So what is that like? Because that's something that I think a lot of people don't understand.
I know. The first thing that you have to understand is that, and I have to be honest, money is important. Money is really important. But the thing is that, um, taking the example of the car again, of the sport car, it's not the same price buying, a sports Chevy as buying as an Aston Martin. There's a big difference.
Not
And
if you
yes, money is important. Money is important. But to actually this is something that I don't usually say, because I don't usually talk about these topics, not even in Facebook or in artist groups. But I had to say it. I've seen some great artists. Charging $10 for their art, and that's just horrible. That's just horrible, because they are putting great work, but they are killing themselves. That's because they commit to their artwork. And I understand that, but you have to commit, to eat and to pay rent.
So we were talking about this before, and it's no secret I ran a Kickstarter, and I'm the first person to say this, and it's business. It's nothing personal, but there are only 3 ways to get on my show. It's you're either bringing, your audience or something equivalent like that. You're going on my social media, something like that, or you're bringing me. If you're a host, you're bringing me onto your show at some point, and it's a media exchange. That's one way how to get on. Secondly, it's that you're bringing me a guest, or you're bringing me access to a bunch of guests. That's the second way. And then the third way is that if you're not bringing me those other 2 things, or I'm not interested, or I don't.
Okay.
I'm back. So I think
Yeah.
as I was saying, you got to bring me money, and it's not a secret. And I think that's something that people have to understand, is that, look, this is a business. I'm creating something. This is not. And if you're an artist, you have to understand that it's okay that if you love a project and your page rate is $50 a page, to go down to 40 because you want to be part of the project. But at the same time, this is also a business, and I'm a big proponent where if you can't afford something, then you know what? Then if you can't afford your rent in your current apartment, then you either need to find a new job that can allow you to afford it, or what you have to do is figure out a place where it's cheaper to live. And so,
that's what I wanted to get. That's what I wanted to get. Because I have to say it, I am very blessed to be a person that I have a job that actually helps me to have time for my hobby, to look out for things that fulfill me, not only professionally but personally. And I'm blessed by that. I'm blessed that I work with an awesome team of people here in Mexico, that allow me to have time for some of the stuff I like, and that's what I'm blessed with. And I think many people don't have that chance, don't have that opportunity, because one thing I found, is that the market, in the artist market, is like saturated. There are
Oh,
many
it's brutal.
players.
It is brutal.
It's brutal, as you said. That's the
It is
perfect word for it.
I'll give an example, and feel free to disagree with me. Yeah, right in the U.S., and I use this analogy. Um, when COVID hit, it became a seller's market, meaning
Yeah,
that selling a house was at its all-time high, and houses that normally go for 600,000 are going for 800,000, and they had a 25% boost when somebody paid legitimately 300,000 for it 25 years before. So, and what I think is happening in comics is that it is a writer's market, meaning that me as a writer has the ability to choose from any artist on the planet by definition at this point. Now, obviously, and in which that I can go on ArtStation and I can go and say, hey, who wants to do this? And I can find 30 artists, and then I can negotiate price because I'm in a position where there are more artists than there are projects that need to be created, and more artists than writers. This also applies to cover artists and a variety of other stuff. So I have a real position to get cheap artwork from somebody that should be valued at $600 for $400 and or $300 or $350. And it also, I guess, stunts growth in a lot of ways, because how do you raise your prices as an artist when I can go to 50 people off the top of my head? If I need my logo redone up there, I could find 50 people in the next 30 minutes while I'm live here.
that's
Legitly,
one of the
that's crazy, right?
as an
So
artist. As an artist, that's one of the first challenges you have to meet. Because when you're in the market and you see other artists doing great artwork, very great artwork, for $20, for $10, how do you offer yours for 60, for 70, for 100, for 180, for 200? How do you do it? How do you compete in that market?
I have the
That's
same problem as a
what
podcaster. There's a lot of good
that's
podcasts out there.
that's where commitment enters. That's the power of commitment. That's why it's so important. Because yes, there are 1,000 artists out there, millions of them, all competing for the same hard-earned dollar that every writer or creator wants to put out for their project. What you have to offer, it's commitment, not artwork. Commitment. And that's when you can put price on commitment and artwork. That's the great difference. Because great artwork, you can find it around the corner. A committed artist, it's a very a very precarious finding, you know, because yes, there's talent. Yes, there is a lot of talent, but how do you plant, for example? And I'm always referring to Ben Lacey's cover, because not only because I made it, because I'm very proud of it, but because I know everyone liked it. Why do I keep referring back to that? Because when I made that cover, and as you see it, what I wanted to is how that cover is going to look in the middle of a rack or a table, surrounded by other 20, 40 titles made by other 40 or 50 talented artists, And mine is not that great piece of artwork, but it does pump out, it does stand out as an artwork. And if you're not committed to make that sort of level, uh, Ben Lacey, you're awesome.
For those who are listening in the podcast, sorry to interrupt. Ben Lacey just commented, and I threw it up there, and he said, "Awesome cover," because Ben Lacey is Shark of War. In case anybody doesn't know the connection, but obviously continue.
No, but it's a this is the part where commitment, it makes everything work. Because, for example, the story is a commitment from the writer. He took the story and he finished it and he ran with it the whole 9 yards, you know. And as an artist, you have to be willing to run those to run the distance with the writer. And when you have that, when you have that commitment with writer and artist, it doesn't even matter if the writer is not that great and or if the artist is not that great. But if they're willing to commit and run with it to the end, well, you're gonna be pumping some some really great stuff. And that's what I believe in it, you know. And I'm very lucky and I feel very blessed, you know, because when I started to do my work, to do my artwork and offer it on groups on Facebook and everywhere, you know, I had to make a choice by the very beginning how much I was going to charge. That's the first thing I did. That's the first thing I thought. You know, how much am I going to charge for my artwork? And I took a decision based not only on the quality of my work, but on the level of commitment that I have to the people that actually commission me for an artwork. You know, and you know that only makes your artwork. I think it makes it work. It makes it work. You know,
So,
and
so,
I
so to
feel
to even comment on that, I mean, I charge X amount for live reads, and I should just raise my rate. So, and people might say you're kind of expensive, and I'm like, you're damn right, I'm expensive
I know.
because I'm pushing this shit out. This is my name on it. It is an equivalent of an endorsement when there's a live read on my show. I'm not gonna endorse something that I don't believe in. And so when I had a printing company as a sponsor, I actually looked at 4 different companies before I reached out to them because, and so it's an endorsement. It's that I'm not going to go steer the people who listen to this show and my other show is doing well. When this show comes into podcasting, there's going to be a point where thousands upon thousands of people are going to be listening to it and listening to a whole bunch of episodes, and I don't want to steer them into a company that's a bad company. And so you're damn right I'm expensive. That's a conscious choice. And if you don't think I'm worth it, that's fine. But again, you're not getting that endorsement and you're not getting access to my audience that I've built that actually trusts me and trusts my recommendation. And I think that that's a big thing with art where it's a little bit different, but I think the same principle applies in a lot of
I
ways.
think that I think it applies not only because a principle for artists or anything. It's a principle of business, you know. And this can be very weird because, for example, um, you know, you can charge. How can I say this?
I could
Do
use
you like?
another analogy that might get it a little better. I'll use an
Yeah.
analogy that gets right to the point. You're
Okay.
in a club, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that it's an adult club for lack of a better word. Girl A might charge something, but then you have a former well-known, I guess, porn star who's going to give you a dance. She's going to charge more because she has a bigger name. And she's more expensive because, well, she's known, she's in more demand. And, you know, that's just business in a lot of ways, too, where it's the idea that you're paying for a name, you're paying for access, you're paying because somebody has a track record, or you're saying, hey, this is the quality of my work. Because in this country, in America at the very least, we view that if somebody's charging $500 an hour for their service, they must be worth that, and they're not just randomly charging. And then if somebody pays that, well, obviously they perceive value. And that's the whole same principle. So when people are paying me 15, $20 for a live read, well, that's the live read rate. I mean, and I'm sorry that somebody comes up to me and says, you're expensive. I'm like, well, I'm that expensive that 10 people just paid me $20. You know, what makes you as an individual any different from that number? And that's the whole thing I view it. So when you made your decision for whatever it is and then Ben paid it, that's your rate because somebody already paid it. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think that's something where a lot of artists have to say, well, if you can't afford me, that's fine. I'd rather starve than work for less.
So, yeah, it sounds logic, and that's what I want to say. It's like, but look, uh, uh, it's like it's like the analogy you just said. Uh, I was thinking it in a very similar way. It's like, for example,
You weren't going
what?
the adult route that I was going.
Yeah.
Clearly, guys. If
Look,
you want to hang out with a very high class stripper who is a former porn star, it's going to cost you more money in the club than hanging out with the nice and very attractive girl who's just coming up into the biz. I'm just going to leave it at that.
no, I couldn't argue with that because in the end, when I started to upload my artwork in Facebook groups, what I did is just to put out some very hot-looking ladies and to get the attention first, and then I won't blame them, and I won't blame anyone for those tiny decisions. But what I was thinking is that, for example, Andrew, let's say this. Um, for example, I people people tend to love brands, you know. And for example, when you are loyal to a brand, yes, when you're loyal to a brand, um, believe me, yeah, I know. The thing
It's
is,
too easy. You're giving it to me. You're giving it to me. I'm sorry. Continue.
yeah, but the thing is, if you love a brand, are you gonna really be looking what's the price of it if you want to have it?
I mean, I think it depends at a certain point. I mean, I don't question with Zenoscope, a $20 book anymore with Zenoscope. But I
Yeah.
question once we go into a $50 to $100 position. So for instance, if I'm a huge Audi car guy, there's gonna get to a point where you have to question the price. Just so you're not gonna go and say I want an Audi RS 8, which is a super expensive car. It's like a $250,000 car. You're like, I'm loyal to the brand. I think that it gets to a point where at a certain point you do question the price, but also Audi has a bunch of different models, so you could stay at your current level. So I think that branding is complicated because you could outprice somebody in your brand very efficiently. So if you're a brand and you're Coca-Cola, you raise your rates up 10%, 10%, 10% every single year, at a certain point, you're gonna get rid of customers just by nature. But if you
I'm
raise
gonna put it. I'm gonna put it with a Mexican analogy. Are
oh,
you familiar? Are you familiar with quinceañera parties?
I am not.
Okay, here in Mexico, when a young lady turns 15, actually there's a tradition to make this huge party for the girl to present her into society. That she's no longer a little child, but now she's a young lady coming out of her age. And this is a very hard tradition of Mexicans. And no matter, it doesn't matter if you're poor or you're rich. you know. But for example, if you're rich, man, you're gonna spend a lot of money in that party. You know, you're gonna, maybe rent a very cool place, pay for some musicians, some great catering, some great food, a very expensive dress. It is in Mexico. Some quinceañera parties have been known to cost almost $300,000.
Oh shit! Like,
The funny thing is, people that are not so lucky and they're on the low end. I mean, poor people. How do you think they can make their quinceañera party? Well, they save, and they save for a long time. Some people, some people even know that once they have a daughter, newly born, they're like, oh man, in 15 years she's gonna be 15, and they're gonna have to pay for a huge party. So I better start to save up from now. They don't care about the price. They don't care how much you're gonna do. They just know that they have to save enough money to have that crazy ass party. So everyone is gonna be like, "Oh man, do you know that guy? Yeah, he was poor, but he made a cool party for his girl." You know, that's actually how actually the market works. You know, I mean,
I don't know though if the market works totally that way, and I'm an
I know,
economic.
I know it sounds crazy, but the thing is that there are people out there willing to pay. There are people out there willing to pay $1,000, $3,000, $5,000 for a pair of sneakers. Why is that? Not because of the materials, not because of the things, but for
I get it to a
but for
degree.
an internal feeling. I mean, what writer wouldn't like to hire some big famous artist if they had the money?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that to some degree, but I know plenty of people who say, look, because I'm one of them where I'm not looking, and maybe this is my business acumen, where I'm looking not to already hire teams that exist. I want to build the team that's going to bring the fight to those teams that already exist. And the
Oh no.
reason why is because from a business level and from a creation level, why do I want to go hire J. Scott Campbell when I want to build J. Scott Campbell 2.0? Because
Oh no.
building J. Scott Campbell 2.0 is A, going to be cheaper. B, it gives me a lot more control, and then I'm there first. And all of a sudden, I have now basically fostered a new generation, and I've done it cheaper. And then now I've brought a fight, and now I have X person, and I have a relationship with them. So on a business level, it actually makes sense for me not to go on brand and to go off brand, because going off brand and building it from scratch and building my own team that nobody else has ever seen is actually going to benefit me in the long run over 20, 30, 40 years in the comic realm. And so that's why I think people don't necessarily want to even go big brand, even if they have the money, because it'll actually hurt you in the long run.
Well, yeah, it sounds logical too.
Because if Ben hired somebody who is doing interiors for DC Comics, and I don't feel like dropping anybody's name at the moment, all of a sudden that might hurt Ben Shark Award longer versus hiring who we hire, even putting you on a cover, or look at all the talent. Because if you look at the talent, Greg Bo Watson is coming on, who did a bunch of covers for Shark of War. Greg Bo is eventually going to get bigger gigs, and that adds a lot more credibility to Shark of War once he
Well,
gets
yeah,
those bigger gigs. Once, if you get picked up by DC, if you did one Shark of War cover, and that's the only one you did on an indie book, and then you get picked up by DC or Marvel, all of a sudden that adds a lot more credibility because now Ben gets all this credit. And that's the whole intention. What I want is I want to basically build like a squad of artists that then get picked up and pulled out of my company, start working for DC and Marvel exclusively. And I'm like, I was there first. Maybe you should be taking a look at me, because I liked having that out. And believe me, there's been plenty of people on my show who have gone into WWE, who are in AEW, who have gotten good gigs in places like Zenoscope and DC and Marvel. And I'm like, yeah, guys, that was 5 years ago. They have been in Marvel for 4 years. You should have been listening to me all along.
yeah, I get you, and I totally have to agree with you. And right now, I have to say that just two things, that I want to add. Is just that one, I will never get a better opinion than yours because I think it's very logical. And secondly, Ben, don't change me. Let's just keep working together, man. Just keep working together.
I don't think you take it away
Because
from so
I don't want to become this as an argument where I can, like taking a shot on my foot, you know. But I'm very glad, and I'm actually glad to work with Ben, and I don't totally understand. I mean,
I
and
get
I'm
branded. I get the brand, where I get the idea that somebody says, I want $10,000 Jordans. I get it because they're like, oh man,
It's because in the end, I mean,
we're
I
selfish, self-serving creatures. Is
yeah,
what we
I
really
know.
are.
It's also, exactly. I mean, in the end, we want what we want, and we will pay what we feel we can pay for what we want, you know,
Oh no,
and
I agree. I agree completely.
there's not a like an actual price tag on it, just about our selfish desire to to fulfill ourselves. But as I said again, please, Ben, don't change me. Don't hire
So
some big guns.
no. I completely agree with your brand.
I know. I'm just trying to be fun.
There gets a point where like Zenoscope does this, and I'm very open, where they can price me out,
Yeah, I
where
know.
I will pay a certain amount for a book, but then I will not go above that price. And so if I miss something by accident, like I'm not gonna go. But then again, I sell books at extremely high money, and it's on the secondary market, but also the free market determines that. So if I sell a book at $60, that means somebody else is selling that book at $65. So I compete and I price my items at what I think they're worth in speculation, and also what I think they are priced at or what they're going to go for. And even if it takes me 3 or 4 months longer, like I got no problem sitting on a book because I view it as debt. And I view it almost as debt security, which is a whole different discussion for a whole different day. I
Yes.
am more than happy. Anybody who's watching this and hearing this, if you want to talk to me about debt security in comic books, that is a fascinating, like 3-hour conversation. I will change the way you invest in alternative investments indefinitely, but that is not what this show's about.
No.
I did not want to start down this route for the first hour, so I had
No,
a
don't
whole
worry. Don't
different
worry.
battle plan. I had a whole different battle plan, and I actually wanted to show off some of your art before we got into Shark of
Oh,
War.
just show it. Show it.
So I want to talk about. We're starting with Red Sonja because I like your Red Sonja stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's that one, and then there's this one, which is super fun. And this is like old school, new school, and this is like early stuff. And I don't know if you updated this one yet.
No, actually, if you look at my whole artwork, it's evolving. It's really evolving. For example, the first one that you showed, the one I actually made on ink, I really loved it, and I always love this kind of like this lot of not like lines, but like I don't know how to say this in English, like little graphic art, you know, and I really like that. And there's I don't remember the name of this artist, and maybe you can help me out. I remember a long time ago that I bought a Wildcats comic that is a crossover with Wolverine.
Oh,
That with that
I'm trying to think. Wildcats. Oh man, this is a good question actually. Oh man, I actually don't know now.
Oh
I'm gonna
man!
go look this up.
Actually, the artwork of that comic is just great because it's almost like only black and white with a lot of lines. Only made much better than this one. But yeah, I really like Red Sonja as a character. That's why I like to draw her, and because yes, there's a sexiness to it, but there's a brutish feel to it. You know,
I mean,
uh,
she's pretty savage. I mean, like Dynamite, like 2007, 2008, Red Sonja. There's
I
some
mean,
pretty intense stuff.
Red Sonja can be many things, but facially sexy because she has to be always screaming or making like angry faces. But that's what I really like about Red Sonja. I mean, she's always drawn with a great like thick muscular body, but she has not this like sexual quality to it because she's very brute. She's a warrior, She, I mean, there's some kind of like very dumb logic about her armor and her suit, that about mobility and stuff. And I mean,
Hey, it's magical. Come on, man. You got to be
no,
honest. You
I
gotta be
mean,
honest.
no, no, no. Let's just be honest. I mean, Red Sonja was created for every fanboy dream, and many of those fanboy dreams. It doesn't have to be with a sexy girl, but a strong female, you know, and that's what I love about that drawing.
I like Red Sonja, and I like my Red Sonja stuff when I do it, and I like what Dynamite does with the cosplayers, but I think they go a little over the top sometimes with that. But there's some seriously really cool artwork with Red Sonja and some amazing covers by so many people. So many people have done so many Red
No,
Sonja covers. It is amazing. Even like just like the cover A's and cover B's of Red Sonja are just fantastic. Like Dynamite knows how to do covers so
I
well.
know, I know, I know. It's because actually it's a great character. She's a great character to work with. I mean, what
Hmm.
other work you have in there? I mean, let's watch another one.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're gonna go through the Marvel stuff here. So this is Matt K, and then this is it done.
Oh yeah, that's actually kind of like an update on it,
So
and
that's
that's
a new line wise, and then this is the color, and then we're going through the whole Marvel line, guys. What's the
okay.
story behind this one? Because obviously she's a likable character.
Yeah, I know. She's a likable character, and actually, I think she's a character that uh, I can not to say relate because I'm not a woman, but I mean,
You could have fooled me. You could have fooled me.
but it's actually a very cool character. It's a very cool character. And I actually wanted to. I have around. I might be posting that drawing. I did a drawing with Colossus also, and it's actually very cool. I just have it lost.
Well, since we're on the X-Men now, we might as well continue here. So we got obviously Storm, and this is like where the anime new school pinup style stuff comes in.
Yeah,
'Cause This is
that's why
this
I was
is
started
right
to
out of
work on that.
this is right out of anime. I mean, this one is somewhat out of anime. This thing is straight out of an anime.
Yeah, it's still you can see all these still look at these comic details, like for example this leather inking that you make on her clothing. That's actually very comic, and I don't think is more like anime. I think what it makes it look anime is the coloring, is that hard color shading. But actually it's one of the earliest characters that I think that I knew as a young boy, because the first comics that I really got into it, I mean, after reading the Death of Superman, that was what really hit me. I went on to read like X-Men from the 80s, and I mean it was the 90s in Mexico, so we were like 10 years lacking.
So let's even talk about that because I'm actually curious about that because obviously America lacks in manga naturally, and so there's lack, but it's shortened up tremendously. And I am curious, what was it growing up in comics in Mexico? Because obviously they come out in the U.S. and then there's a bunch of different variants that went over to Mexico and a variety of other stuff. And I'm not going to go through the whole history, everybody. If somebody would like that, I am more than happy to make that
No,
hour
I
long
gotta be,
video.
I gotta be very quick about it. In
Well, I'm talking
Mexico,
about me telling the history, not you. I know the whole history of the variant market.
okay,
That's
then
for
you do
you.
it. Then you
No,
do
no, no.
it.
You can tell the story quickly. I'm telling that if
No,
somebody wants my services, I'm more than happy to make a video explaining it.
okay, but this is gonna. But for at least in Mexico, it's very small. In Mexico, we had what we call the libro vaquero. That's kind of like the cowboy book, and some other like comics that were just like this smooth, sexy, and
Was it
raunchy
like rock
comics.
historias? Were they called like
Yeah,
historias?
historias. And there's actually an artist that actually went to America because he was very famous here in Mexico. that is, I believe, is Basaldua.
Oh,
Um,
you mean Eric Basaluda, some Ebas?
yeah, yeah,
I know who
Basaldua.
Ebas is. I love Ebas.
I know, I
So
know.
much.
He was like the pioneer in covers and pinups and Mexican comics in Mexico.
He was on my
And he's
show. He was on my show.
really, oh
His
man,
wife was on my show too.
he's awesome. I mean, he's always awesome. And I have to say that some of my artworks, especially some of the female form, I actually took them from him. He's actually one of the artists that I really admire, and like right now, artists that I admire has to be Basil Dua, Frank Cho, and maybe Adam Hughes. And I think I've taken a lot of them in my artwork.
Yeah, because if we're going to talk about the female form, and we're going to get right into it right here. I mean, I'll let you know when an Ebas is coming up, because the Marvel stuff is not Ebas oriented, but this is definitely somewhat like Frank Cho and even Adam Hughes. Like, this
Yeah,
is very much Adam Hughes like, and
yeah.
this is Jean Grey, and honestly, I mean, this could be a Marvel cover very easily. It'd be a fun Marvel cover if they did a cover like this, because it's really not that sexual, this cover. Like, this one, I definitely feel like it's sexual. This one, I don't feel like it's sexual.
It's like every artwork I do, I don't intentionally make them sexy, but I want to. What I do want to is to make them work within the idea that I'm showing. For example, this is the 80s 70s Jean Grey, and it goes with the character, because I think the design of the character, it works very well with what they were doing with the comics, with the X-Men comics. And yeah, this taking a lot of inspiration, especially from Frank Cho or Adam Hughes. I have to be honest on that.
Yeah. And this is definitely more Ebas. I can tell you that. This
Oh
is
yeah, totally, totally,
but,
totally.
but this is not an Ebas. This is like a front pass.
Sort of, but this is actually the most one of the most how can I say, sexually explicit drawings that I made. But it actually fits Rogue personality. Rogue is, I mean, as a character, she is like a very suffering character, But I actually think that she always wants everyone to look at her, because I think it's the only way she can be closer to people because of her powers. She can be in touch with anyone, and I think the closest she can have to touch is actually by people looking at her, and that's maybe why it's such an sexualized character.
I like this cover a lot, or this drawing, because clearly it's definitely, X-Men oriented. It's Rouge or slash Rogue, and just it's just a fun one. And then this is also out of the X-Men a little bit. This is Wanda, and obviously everybody loves Wanda right now. So this is fun, and I really like the coloring on this. I think the coloring is what really makes this thing pop off.
Yeah, it was very fun. I was actually watching the WandaVision show, that I believe it's a great show. And actually, her arc in this, what's the storyline? I think it's the storyline that it's the House of M. That it's a very good storyline, and it's a character that, even with all the power she has, I think the most tragic thing about this character is that she doesn't have a control, neither on her emotions and neither on her mental, not mental but psychological health. You know.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating, and obviously, with that and her story, and with
Also,
Doctor
I
Strange and all that stuff.
also wanted to point out about this artwork. is that her form is not as, how can I say, exaggerated that I do it as another drawings. I mean, she's not like this huge chest or this really small waist or these really pumped arms. I just really wanted to do something more that reflected that kind of her personality, more like contained personality.
Yeah, and then also I think this is somewhat contained as well.
Yeah,
Where
I know,
because
because
Captain Marvel, obviously, you can do Captain Marvel however you want to do Captain Marvel, but this is very much contained as well, and it's almost movie like a Captain Marvel. Whether you like the movie or not, I'm not here to
yeah,
ask
I
this
know.
because it's 50-50. It's 50-50 for a lot of reasons. And
The inspiration I had for this drawing actually was listening to David Bowie, and this song. Yeah, I know. It's this song that I don't remember the name, but it's like what's the name of that song? But it's really funny that it says like that it's about this guy going to space.
oh man, it's not Major Tom, is it?
Major Tom, yeah, Major Tom.
Oh, I love
Ma-
Major Tom. Major Tom is great. Major Tom is such a
Ground
great
control to Major Tom. And I was listening to that song, and I actually I feel like this is a perfect song to describe this drawing, because
I kind of want to
there
frame this. Like,
there's
I probably print for this. This would be fun
she's
to hang
shitting in a tin can.
up. Because I know if I put this up right on this wall right here, it would upset so many people in so many ways. And I
I
would
know.
take so much pleasure. Be like, do you have a problem with the character? Do you have a problem with the movie? Or do you have a problem with just Brie Larson? Because it could be one all of those three things. But it's just
I,
like a fun, picture.
and it's a sad thing because actually the character as it is, it's a very cool character. It's kind of sad that the movie didn't took advantage of such a great character.
I don't even think it's the movie. I think Brie Larson can be a lot of fun. And there have been interviews where Brie Larson was a blast. But there were things on both sets, or Captain Marvel. I don't know if two came. I don't think two came out. Was there a sequel to Captain Marvel? I don't even know. It's been forever since I've watched anything Disney. I'm broke, guys. I don't have Disney Plus. Deal with it. This is what happens when all your money goes back into your company and then buying comic books. You don't get Disney Plus.
Yeah, I
It's
know
called
the
being an adult.
sacrifices.
I bought Crunchyroll and I went with Crunchyroll, not Disney Plus. So sue me. But anyway, what Brie Larson, as I was stating, can alienate people very effectively because like her interviews on the set of the Avengers were just horrible, and like she is not well liked on that
Yeah,
cast of group, and it definitely affects the movie. And it's hard for me as an individual to separate her away from the character, and so I don't have a problem with the character.
yeah. I think the way she was presented in the movies, it just didn't make much sense. It's like what she was like shoehorned into the story. Like kind of like what happened in Spider-Man 3 with Venom, and that's why you know we have bad memories about Spider-Man 3 movie.
Yeah, it's not it's rough. And then obviously we're gonna talk about Black Cat. We got Black Cat there. We got She Hulk, which was
Actually, I want to talk about this She-Hulk drawing because this drawing is the one to blame that I wanted to do this of drawing, selling my drawings and do it as a serious thing. This is the drawing that made change my mind because I actually did this drawing and I uploaded, I believe, to my DeviantArt account, and it just went through the roof. It just like totally took off, and everyone is like, "Oh man, you are so good at drawing She-Hulk. She looks totally different from like what Marvel is doing." And I actually I didn't actually look at a Marvel comic. I really like She-Hulk, like from the 90s. Even back, well, like I remember a lot of She-Hulk from Jack Kirby, and it was an awesome run. And when I did it, I did this drawing. Everyone just loved it, and this is when I thought maybe I should do this not only as a hobby but as something more.
So what is that like? Because I've had interviews that have made me want to continue to do things, and I've done very well, and then I got a lot of positive feedback, and then and then I've had interviews that have just gone on wild where they've gotten like 2,000, 4,000, 3,000 plays, and it's just run wild, and you're like, oh man, I can actually do this now, and then it's a weird feeling, and I don't know how to explain it to somebody. I've presented panels at cons where I've booked up an entire room, and it's a weird feeling, and I guess thing that's going on. So, what is that like for you? Where it's like, oh, okay, I got something here. What can I do with this now?
Well, it's a very funny feeling because, for example, when I was younger, when I was like 20, 18, 20 years old, I really wanted to be a comic artist. But then suddenly you feel like that's not for me. I had to get a job, and suddenly you realize that you're already married, you have children, you have a house, and you have a whole life to attend to, and you sort of leave behind those personal dreams. And when this happens, it's just like a little shakeup. It's just like, hey, just don't give up yet. And yes, you're older. Yes, you have other stuff to tend to, but also, well, you are wiser. You are much more smarter than what you were 10 years ago. So that's what the feeling is. And I'm actually very happy with it. And because right now, in 2 years, I've been able to, being commission work, I've been able to meet some amazing people like yourself. And I met Ben Lacey. I met guys in Europe, guys in the States. And I'm having this opportunity to talk with others of something that I really really feel passionate about it. And I mean, it just feels great. It feels great because this is the time. This is the moment where you feel like technology really comes to to make everything to make everything great. You know,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
especially in an age where technology seems to make everything suck.
because I was actually very curious about that because obviously one of the things is that I started doing live stuff. So I was pre-recording and I was using Skype and Ecamm, and then to really do my first year of live stream stuff and interviewing people from all over the world. I mean, I interviewed people from Australia, from the UK, Canada, from all across the United States, down in Mexico. I've interviewed somebody from Singapore. And so one of the I interviewed somebody from Italy, which is super cool. And so technology is very useful in what I'm doing because I can speak to anybody anywhere in the world. So obviously, what is that like for you as an artist? Because you can draw something, post it up, and then I could see it on ArtStation, Facebook, DeviantArt, if I didn't already say that, or Instagram or anywhere else. And also I could see it at any given time. So what is that like for you? Because it also is a double-edged sword, though, because anybody now can post something up on the internet. Like as a podcaster, I realize that what I am doing, this entry cost is $240 as an entry cost into this game. That doesn't mean that you're going to be good at it, but anybody can do what I'm doing for $240 and have a laptop and just sit and talk and reach out to somebody. That doesn't mean you're going to have a good interview, a bad interview, be professional or have viewership. What it really means, though, is that the entry cost is low, but at the same time, anybody can see it in the world. So how do you sort of deal with that? Because it's tricky now.
Well, actually, to be honest, is to get into the market of illustration, artwork, and drawings is not really that low cost because, for example, I have a Hui on screen to work with that was like $700 if I recall, and I also have to work with a very good computer. I have a Mac Pro, and I have to have all this gear, to actually put up that work to put it out. The thing that I said I was very lucky is that it's the same equipment I already use in my day-to-day work. That's what I'm very well, that's what I'm lucky. I mean, it would be very bad if my job was to be, I don't know, be a mechanic, because then I have to buy tools for my job, and then I have to buy tools for my hobby, and that will make it a little bit more stressful, and pay those $45-50 for Adobe Suite monthly. It will be kind of expensive. And on that end also, uh, to do it from Mexico, that where you have an income that is actually lower than in the States. Well, it really makes up a lot of things. But as I said, I feel very lucky that I've been given this opportunity by life.
No, because for me, I don't think I'm competing against any other podcaster, but I also understand that there's only so much sponsorship money out there. I am competing for sponsorships to some degree with people because companies only have X amount of money they could spend. And then also there's only so much amount of time that somebody has in a day. And so I get that too, because if there's 15 podcasts, who are they going to listen to? And what I'm hoping is that they listen to all of us. That's what we're all hoping for. I don't care if you don't get any sleep, everybody. If you're listening to my friend's podcast and not mine, we'll stay up the extra hour. I promise you,
but
sleep is overrated.
but the thing is that every one of us has the ability to give something very special and different from one another. For
No,
example,
no, 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 no. I just need your money. That's all I want. I don't really care. I need the money, guys. I'm
I don't
broke.
care about anything else. Just keep
I
those
don't care if you put
keep
this
those
thing on
guys
mute.
rolling.
I just don't care if you put me on mute and I get the view. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. It really doesn't. I'm just saying my guests might be bothered by it. I personally don't care. I just want to see that number continuously go up. Even if it's artificial, I want it to go
You
up.
know
No,
what? I should do exactly the same approximation that you're having. So if anyone wants a drawing from me, I don't care. I'll just do it. I'll take the money for it, and believe me, for my rates, I'll be compromised. you have my I'll be compromised to make a great artwork. Yeah, I think I like your ideas, Andrew, and I think I'm gonna roll with it.
no, no, no. I really care about my show. I actually want people to listen to it. All jokes aside, but I absolutely can be corrupted. If somebody
I
wants
think
to give me
everyone.
Joe Rogan money, I'll say whatever you want me to say. I'll follow in suit. I'll be the tail of the lion
It,
all
it,
day.
it's because it's very easy to say. It's very easy to say, "Oh, I'll never be a sellout," but just
Oh
throw
no,
me
no, no,
a
no! I know. I'm
just
going to
throw me a
be a
bag just throw me a bag of money, and let's just see who's a sellout.
I'm a very, very I keep it 100% honest. If
Yeah,
somebody was to give me $30 million and go over to Spotify, and then they wanted to tell me what to say, how to say it for
let's
5
do
years,
it. Let's do it.
no way I'm saying no. I'm not
Oh, come
saying
on,
no.
Andrew! It's 30 million.
This is just I mean, my buyout price is like 30 million, and I got no problem openly admitting it, because guess what? Anybody else would take the deal too. And if you don't take that deal, you haven't thought long and hard about this. I've thought long and hard about this. So, but that's a far cry away, because you know who doesn't think about these issues? She doesn't think about these issues.
Oh no, she doesn't. She doesn't. And I gotta tell you, making the drawing made me very, very, very angry. And there's a
Why?
reason. That's the reason why. There's a reason. There was this challenge that actually Scott Campbell did, and he was like posting on his Instagram, like every drawing he could, like, oh, this guy did the challenge and this guy did the challenge. And I actually did it with all the hopes that Mr. Campbell would see it and maybe he would share it in his Instagram, and he didn't. And as an artist, you still feel you kind of feel like the dumb girl, like, oh my God, what I did wrong. Wasn't she sexy enough? Wasn't she good looking enough? What did I fail? What did I do wrong? And I was very pissed because I was like, oh man, I hope he sees it. I don't know if he sees it. I don't know if he is aware, but if Mr. Campbell ever sees this podcast, Mr. Campbell, I mean, you hurt my feelings because I did it like with real love to it, and you never really look at it. So that's what.
I really enjoy Spider-Man 607, that cover. I like the fact that it's complemented to 601. I think 601 is one of the greatest Spider-Man covers of all time that Campbell did. And I think 607 is sort of up there. I don't think 607 is in the top 10, but I think it's in the top 30 of all-time Spider-Man covers. Because it's really good. And then also 607 is special for a lot of people right now. David Fraud, who was a comic artist, just passed away. And he was an indie guy, and he did a tribute on a Niobe book that my friend Larry Higgins does. And he did a reference to 607, and I have that book done in Niobe, and it's a very cool book. So obviously 607 holds a very special place in my heart, and I have a 607, so it's a cool book. It's probably like a 9.4, which isn't bad considering that I paid like $50 for it. So it's like a 9.4, 9.6. Maybe if it's pressed, it'll be a 9.8, which is nice, graded. But yeah, no, I love like Campbell work. The 600 run, like the first like 20 that he worked on, really, in Marvel, which is 601, 607, and a few before that, are some of the best work he has ever done.
Yeah, I agree. Sadly, every time I would look at it, I would remember my sad moments. So.
I know what I'm going to
said,
send you. I know what I'm going to send you now. I'm going to definitely send you a 607 book. I'm going to just laugh about what I
just gonna, laugh at my face and spit on my feet.
That's the type of friend I am.
That's the coolest one.
I'm the type of friend that and I expect the same from my friends, is that if I'm having a bad day and I'm at the top of the stairs, I expect my friends to push me down the stairs. I expect
just to laugh at the end,
Just no. If I'm having a good day, they won't do it. They won't do it if I'm having a good day. They only do it if I'm having a bad day, and then they'll let me know why they did it. They'll be like, "You're having a bad day, and we just want to see it get worse." So then, right before the shove, it'll just be, and then those are the type of my friends, and but they know that if they shove me down the stairs, I get to shove them down the stairs, and that's how it works. So.
Oh, so that's why you like to be the kind of friend. That's why, because anything that it's been made to you, you're gonna make them back to them. That's just mean, man.
No. It goes back to the idea where you get to hit your friends the hardest. You really get to hit your friends the hardest.
Yeah, and that's the coolest thing. You get to kick your friends in the ass, laugh about it, and then you get to have a beer with them, pass a couple of weeks, pump another beer and tell them, oh, did you remember that time I kicked your ass?
It's not even that Triple H said it about HBK. He said, you get to hit your friends the hardest. And that's just the way it works. And then obviously we're going to exit out of Marvel, but I want to show this one because I love Spider-Gwen.
Me too. And actually, I'm very proud of that drawing because actually make to draw any Spider-Man character, it's very difficult for in the way they contort and they move around. It's very difficult to keep it physically viable. The to the point that it doesn't look weird, and that's what I actually like of this drawing because it looks Spider-Man enough without looking in a too weird position.
And I love Spider-Gwen. And now I really want to talk about Adam Hughes because there's two covers that you did for that are DC characters that are straight out of Adam Hughes. This is right out of Adam
Yeah,
Hughes.
right about Adam Hughes.
That is too, because I know the cover that's referencing.
I
There
know.
is a cover that's referencing, and I have that book. That's why I know it. So,
Oh,
what is
well,
this
man.
like? To really get to do DC characters and have fun with like Santana and
Oh yeah, I know. It's actually I'm a very I do draw Marvel characters, but to be honest, some of the stories that I've been more hooked over the years are the stories of DC. And I'm really grabbed onto them as characters. While every character in Marvel feels like very human, very fragile, very vulnerable. Every character from DC, it looks like come down from the pantheon of gods. They look powerful. They look like they can overcome anything. And that's why I enjoy so much their stories. So there's a uh, very special love for DC characters, and especially those that are drawn by the artists that I feel a great admiration for. Like in this case, this is based on, if I'm not wrong, in Adam Hughes.
because he
With
did a Santana cover, and
yeah,
it's like Santana 9, I want to say.
yeah. But it's a beautiful cover.
Oh, it's an amazing cover. When I saw it across from like this like pop up kind of like, oh my god, I need that book. $20. No way, I'm picking this bad boy up. And it was on eBay for like 18. I'm like, I don't care. Like, it's a beautiful, clean book, and it's just straight up Santana. And I like my Santana. I have her in a Pop Funko, and she's great. She's a great character, and she's not utilized enough in DC right now. And
Yeah, I
I think
know
that
she's been kind of like she's not been receiving a very good attention, and she's a great character. Actually, the thing, it's kind of sad. For example, when I'm look at the character of Power Girl of Cara Sorel, it's actually that everyone remembers her character because of her huge breast and the boob window.
nice tatas.
Yeah, but there's much more to it. Actually, it's a character that she feels, number one, if Superman feels very human, Power Will doesn't feel like human at all. She's very well aware that she's Kryptonian and she's an alien. Because when she arrived to this planet, she was already grown up. Not like, unlike Kal-El, that he feels human because he grows into this planet. And as a character, she's been developed by great writers as a very strong character with a very strong voice. And I really like her design.
I actually like her. And the last book I read with her was Harley Quinn and Power Girl, and like that's the
Yeah,
last one.
it was a fun book.
It was a mini series. It was enjoyable, and like I got all like I think all like 12 issues. Like 'cause there's a cover A and a cover B, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that series, and I enjoyed that entire concept. And I think it's great. But I do think she's massively underutilized, and it's just another thing where now in DC you have so many characters that like characters have to they get pushed aside. And I'm going to use a WWE position. Roman Reigns made a statement a few years ago where he said that wrestlers should have an off season. And the way that works is that you should have somebody work in 9 months, and then they should be almost mandatorily forced off TV for a month or two to recoup their body. And obviously, it's a lot more complicated before people attack me on wrestling and all that fun stuff. But one of the things is it's the idea that maybe we need to bench Superman for 2 or 3 months and get a bunch of other fun characters in the DC universe. And maybe that's the solution to DC. And there's a lot of reasons why. And I mean, I know what DC and Marvel are. They're gigantic IP farming stations, essentially, is what both those companies are. And they're profitable at it too. But again, that's a whole different discussion for a whole different day on a whole bunch of different things. And I mean, I could go on for like 6-7 hours just on that alone. Okay. I mean, on a business level, it's a very complicated topic. And once you understand, and the only reason why I'm interested in it is because I have stock in AT&T, so that owns DC Comics. That's the only reason why I'm interested in all that. So, but I do want to keep it real though with Black Canary going back to '87.
Oh yeah. It's when I saw Wonder Woman '84. What I actually I don't think it's a great movie, just to be honest. I really like more the Wonder Woman, the first movie. But the thing that I really did like about looking to Wonder Woman 1984, it was actually thinking of these other TV shows that were from the 80s that were like very, very noir, very dark, that they can pop up some violence with these neon colors, with these like all sports cars. And I just thought Black Canary will be a perfect fit for that kind of show, set on the 80s, very violent, very very cliche, and she has to be like this blonde, muscular woman, larger than life. And that's what I really wanted to put out in this illustration. And I really like it because she's not like smiling, she's like recovering from maybe a good fight, and maybe she got a few punches in the face, and she's not looking like that happy about it. So that's what I really like about that concept, that it would be like, it would be like in that show it would have to have something like David Hasselhoff on it, with a neon car like Kid, and I don't know how to say this, but I think you get the idea.
Because one of the things is that it's always fun when you get covers like this or even drawings like this, because it is fun to go back. I mean, I've read a bunch of like Wonder Woman from the 80s comics where they do the comic today, but it's a story from like the 80s or the 70s or '64 Wonder Woman, for instance. And so it's done in that world, but it's written today, if that makes any sense. And those are always fun to read because it's kind of like, what if we went back and we did Batman with a new writer who was hired by DC, who's been working for DC for 5 years today, but they're writing it as if it was set in the 1960s. So Batman doesn't have a cell phone. So his gadgets are set, and it's kind of fun. And I think it's a nice addition when DC does stuff like that, because it is fun to go backward and say, oh, this is kind of corny, but it's well written and it's fun. And, it's just good, wholesome comics, for lack of a better word. I think it's something that comics are missing. And when this thing and this drawing comes up, it's kind of nice to see just, she's not this high-tech, super stealth character who marries a socialist, but that's not the point.
That's kind of more that's kind of more a hard-boiled thing.
It's too easy. I want to show one more from DC. Actually, two more, because I think this one is just funny.
Yeah, that's always those kind of this. I mean, it was fully like a homage to old Frank Cho's Darwin's, to his sketches. Frank Cho shows a very great sense of humor in his sketches, be either Wonder Woman, be either Spider-Man or Mary Jane with the wheat cakes. And he's just having fun with that character, not because they're sexy, but take him out of that sexy context. And that's what I like about Frank Cho, taking this very voluptuous woman and taking them out of their voluptuous context, as just being worried about being overweight or not looking good, or that those huge boobs are more of a nuisance than a privilege. I don't know, but I just love that.
I think it's funny, and then I love this cover too because this is just a fun take on Mera.
Yeah, and it's another character that doesn't have the much love that she deserves, but she's a fun character also.
And I just think it's funny in that regard, and a lot of fun stuff. And then I want to talk about the Flintstones because those are fun.
Oh yeah, the Jetsons and the Flintstones. Where did I get that idea? Those were cartoons that I watched when I was a little boy. Maybe when I was 6 or 8 years old. But the thing is that I wanted to take a new approach to them. Like for example, when I did this version of Wilma and and the Flintstones, maybe it's not like they were married, but maybe like if they were like a divorced Kardashian versions of themselves in the past. I don't know I don't know if I get the idea, but they have to be single, they have to be divorced, and they have to, like to be these voluptuous, superficial, empty people inside, and that's why I made it. It was fun.
And even to go into that, I just think it's funny, and I just think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff going on with them, and if only they were a couple, that'd be even perfect. More, just I'm just saying.
It could be. It could be. Maybe they're a couple. What do you know?
I mean, if
Maybe
you're
they.
married to if Fred and Barney maybe just don't cut it.
Yeah. No. Maybe they just made a couple too.
Yeah.
It's just taking modern times into the past.
And then hey, you know what is? We're an equal offender on this show. We're an equal offender completely. And then,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt anybody's sensibilities, but I was born in the 80s, so my sensibilities are not that good for everyone.
hey, we're an equal offender. I offend everybody equally. Nobody is left untouched, is all I'm going to say at the end of the day. And then we have the Jetsons right there, and then we got Scooby Doo.
Oh, that drawing is actually very fun too, and actually it's more like taking that approach. Um, I don't know. The approach for this drawing, it was very simple. I mean, I have a lot of good friends, male friends, and if anybody knows, male friends are always playing, hard stuff on you. Like for example, they're punching the shoulder, maybe sometimes kick you in the back, even sometimes like pinch you in the chest. And I thought, well, the girls should do it too. Maybe they have that kind of friendship, and nothing screams more like an old trusted friendship than squeezing each other's boobs. So
I don't think that's what's going on in this photo. I could tell you my theory. It's very different than everybody else's theory.
I know,
I
but it's
think
actually that.
I took a very different interpretation for lack
Okay,
of a better word.
give me your version. Give me your version because that's funny. Actually, what I wanted to make them is just like they were playing, and it's like uh, Wilma playing a bad prank on Daphne playing a prank on Wilma.
See, I don't think that's what's going on here. I have a very different interpretation of this story. Here's my version.
Okay,
It's
your
a
version.
nice day.
Yeah.
Daphne drove to the beach. She asked Vilma to come to the beach with her. And it's a nice day. She wanted a tan. And she said, let's go play in the water. It's hot. Meanwhile, Daphne has realized that she is a lesbian. So, and she's into sexy librarian girls, and this is her move.
Oh man. Well, that's actually not bad. It's not my approximation, but hey, it can happen.
That's
Actually,
my theory on this.
that
Because
was your theory. That was your theory. But no, they were just like playing good old games on it.
that's my theory at the very least, because you could see clearly Daphne in this picture is all going in for it, and it's like a predator, and it's like panther instincts are going, and you could see that the other one is like, oh my, yeah.
Yeah, but it's because she's surprised. Just that.
I would be surprised too if I was witnessing it. I mean, Shaggy can't be too happy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought when I was making it, I thought I'm putting Shaggy in the background, but I don't know. It's just it just took off from the scene, so no, it was not worth it. So I just left to the two girls.
I mean, I have a very different interpretation. Clearly,
Yeah, that's.
I mean, this show. I didn't say this show was meant for children. I want to make
Oh
that
no,
crystal
no, no,
clear.
no! Especially when everyone knew that there was something funny going on when the smoke came out of the band.
Hey! I thought the machine was broken. I don't
Oh
know
come
what
on,
you were
man!
watching.
Oh come on, man! You didn't buy my story. You're gonna buy that over the machine broken?
Every single episode. I thought it was a running gag. I mean, isn't that what was going on? I mean, you're telling me I'm wrong? Yeah.
No, Andrew. No, Andrew. The smoke was from the engine, and these girls were only playing good games to each other. Yes, that's what's happened.
Because clearly we all know the real story of Scooby Doo
I
is
know, I
that
know, I know, I know. I mean, you had to be how high you had to be to speak to your dog.
I don't even think they were speaking to the dog. I don't think the dog's real. I think they
Oh
got
damn,
so
that's a
high
new
as
one.
a group that they're thinking they're solving mysteries.
Oh man, that's kind of actually dope. I always thought that you had to be real high to talk to your dog, but then again, if you're that high, well,
Wherever whoever their dealer is, we got to get in contact with him. Clearly,
well, if they were doing those kind of stuff, then I'm not surprised they were doing what they were doing on my drawing.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Why do you think the Vampire Man existed? I mean, you have to be really up there. Like,
Yeah, I know.
I think a talking dog is the least of your problems.
Some real Oaxaca quality thing going on in there.
But that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, and
Okay.
you have to be the opposite of high for this one.
Oh, I know. My purpose for this drawing was to make a really cool bike, um, and just the girl on top of it was just like the cherry on top of the cake, but the cake is the bike. So, um, yeah,
Did
you're not
you
gonna
just
buy that
call
one.
Bulma a cherry? I
Yeah, I think you're not going to buy on that one. So they just made Dragon Ball fan art, and I think it's just cool.
and then obviously this is not. She has very small cheeks, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I know. I made this one because I saw many artworks from Chi Chi, and she's using actually the suit when she was very very young, and maybe that's why it fits so small right now.
I really like her hair though. Where I really like the shine in her hair because that's actually a nice touch. Minus the joke, I actually think that it's really nice and it looks very much anime world. I guess an anime like, and it's fun. because everybody knows what this character is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that's awesome. And then obviously My Hero is also very cool.
Oh, actually, I love this drawing. I really love this drawing. I really like that anime, that Hero Academia anime. But actually, what I wanted to do is like this drawing. Um, that when I had the chance to make something different, like the background, like the rocks and the water, which it sounds made sound like a little dumb, but that was a part of the drawing that I really put a lot of effort on the water and the rocks.
So
And
what I like about this, and sorry to cut you off, is that I like how we have the water and the rocks, but then we have like a white sort of like, I guess, manila color, and then we got that, you know, pink going into purple color, and it
oh
really
yeah,
offsets it because it's not a sunset. You know, it almost looks like like a background that shouldn't be there, but it works, and it's almost like a postcard type thing where it's kind of
yeah.
like I expect this like for you to send this to me in the mail or to be like in a DVD slot of My Hero, for instance, as like a promo thing. And
As a
that's what's cool
postal,
about this.
as a postal, as a like little print thing, it will
Yeah,
work
yeah,
beautifully.
like a super mini print, so like not by like a 9 by 6 by 9, but more like a postcard slipped into a DVD case.
Yeah, I know. It will look actually very awesome. But I really like this drawing. I really made it with a lot of thought, with a lot of care, and I really like this drawing. I really do.
You know, I like her, and I like her as a character, and she's got like a big, upgrade, really in seasons 4 and 5, which is nice in a lot of
I
ways.
know, I
So
know.
it's very cool in that regard. And then the last anime that I want to talk about before we talk about the last one is this one. 'Cause this thing looks dope as fuck, man.
Thank you. I love the King of Fighters games. I've been playing them since I was a little kid. But actually, I don't know if you've seen the drawing of what that I did for Leona Heather.
I think I've seen it. I just didn't include it in this. In my things of pictures in StreamYard. Ah, 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 ah. Mike isn't connected.
There?
Yeah, yeah, you're back. You're back. Woo!
Sorry, I'm sorry. It was
Thought I messed something up.
no, it was me. The thing, as I said, that actually both of those drawings, the King of Fighters drawings, they really took off on Twitter, because on Twitter there's more like a fan base for anime than there's on Facebook. And that's actually very funny, because on Facebook you have a lot of groups for comics, but I haven't seen much, or maybe I haven't searched for them. I haven't seen very much response for anime things as I've seen it in Twitter. So, but they were those are fun. Those are fun to draw. Very well known characters, and it's just you have, if you play video games and then you like fighting games, you have probably you know pick them as a character.
Yeah, and even talking about fun characters, because this is kind of the last one I want to talk about. Actually, the last three, because I'll drop Poison in there too, because Poison is just fun.
She's.
Um,
I had to say that she's the trans version.
explain this to me now.
Okay, the original version of Poison, actually it's a man. So
We all learn things in life, don't we?
yeah, that's the piece of defiance in my drawings. Yeah, I know. I hate to ruin it for you, but yes, that's a dude.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
I
It's kind
know.
of funny.
Actually, it is. Did you know the Poison story when they ported the game into America? That when Final Fight series were made in Japan, the character Poison was actually uh, uh, well, a woman, but she also a male, since in Japan they have that thing going on from ages. And when they ported the game into America, they just made it a guy, because nobody felt right uh, with, hitting a girl in a video game. And obviously, Japanese were like very badass people for that, and they were like, "Oh no, here in Japan we can beat up women if they want to." And with all that controversy, I just thought I just had to make a Poison that everyone looks at it and says, "What a beautiful woman," without knowing that it's a dude.
Well, this show's over now because we're officially canceled.
Hey, I get to tell my stories, my friend.
I really don't care either way. I really like the artwork on it, and
Oh yeah,
I
the
think
artwork
it's
is awesome. The
fun.
artwork is awesome. I really loved it. I really have fun doing that character.
And then the final one I want to talk about is two of them, where it's Bowsetta and then it's other Bowsetta, and one of them's thicker than the other one. So you get, if you like your girls a little thicker, this is that one for you. If you like them a little skinnier and with a brighter, bra and panty set on, that
Yeah.
one's for you. Also, just this was the other one, little different color skew. So what was this like really building out both of these? Because this is another really recognizable character. Poison's recognizable, that Fighter's recognizable, Chi-Chi's recognizable, Bulma's recognizable. Bowsetta is extremely recognizable, as I was stating. And then there's
What's cool about Bowsette, it's actually a character born out of the internet fan base. And that's what's cool about it, because it actually shows the power of the public that you're working as an artist with. Because if you're doing something, one of the coolest thing is that if you make an artwork or a character that it's cool enough, it can take off by itself, you know and that's actually very good. And that's actually that I learned that actually works on favor of yourself as an artist. Because, for example, I made a lot of artwork and I have uploaded very a lot of artworks since last year. And I discovered that if I upload an artwork 2 or 3 times again with different colors and different takes, it actually appeals to different public. It appeals to a different to a different person. So it's always a great chance that one of these illustrations will be picked up by the public and make it their own. So that's why I really did it, because I wanted to see if if this if this drawing will be picked up by that fan base and actually push, and I had to say push me above the common artist.
yeah, because it's very interesting because art is extremely subjective. Where it's the idea that I'll give an example. There's certain covers that I love, and then there's certain covers that I hate by certain people. And I'm like, oh, this just didn't hit it for me. And so it's very, very interesting when, depending on how you make somebody and if they're thicker or skinnier, because different people like different things. And then also people like different colors. I mean, one of the things that Zenoscope does sometimes is that they just change out the color scheme. So
And
they actually had a, what?
yeah, and that will be enough to sell it to a different person.
It wouldn't, or it would be.
No, it would. I mean, just to say this, because I have found that doing the same artwork with a different color scheme, it just appeals differently to the public. It appeals different to whoever is watching it.
I mean, I'll give an example of this, and I'm going to tell my own stuff for a second. At some point, I'm going to keep these two images with my friend DJ, and I'm going to change out the flag's colors to blue and white. That's going to have a very different effect.
I know.
And somebody might be like, oh, snap, that's kind of cool. And, or conversely, what if I then did blue and red? And then all of a sudden you have the Japanese flag, on what it looks like, but you have it in blue. And that could be a very different visual effect for someone to think, I like that thing more. Or conversely, what sometimes happens is that somebody's like, I like the first one, and now I need the second one because it's a variation.
Yeah, some people
Because
might see it like something like, come on, it's just a different color, but it's not only that. Different colors means a different perception, and it actually reaches differently to people.
there's a company, I'm sure you know them, they're called Hot Wheels. I don't. Most people don't know this about Hot Wheels. Everybody's played with a Hot Wheels car by definition in the world. Hot Wheels, what they do is that they have 3 or 4 or 5 different variants of every single car,
Yeah.
and so they have a red version, they have a yellow version, they have a different graphic, and it's fascinating. And I'm a Hot Wheels collector, and I love my Hot Wheels cars, and I keep them in the boards and all this stuff, and I try to keep them as many as possible. But there are different versions of a bunch of cars, and it sounds crazy. You're like, oh, you already have that car, but people want to collect the different versions, and some versions are harder to find than others, and then certain versions are exclusive to certain stores, and so it is a very interesting thing that exists. And so I just think it's fun, and I think it's amazing. And I also think that some artists say, look, I don't want to go back to my work. And I think that's a mistake, where I think as an artist, and even as a writer, and even as a podcaster, I should always be going back to certain episodes. I mean, there's 15 ways that I could edit my first episode I ever did as a podcaster that would improve it and change the entire thing, where I could up my voice, I could change it, I could actually rearrange questions that could change an interview up. And I think it's fascinating, this entire thing. And I also think it's fun because obviously Bowsetta is a character that was built out of people saying, because it's not an official Nintendo character. It's
No.
a almost cosplay art character. So fascinating entity. Go ahead. I don't know, which one do you like more? That's my question.
Actually, I like more the black one with the black lettering. Yeah, that version.
And then obviously, I mean, I'm missing a bunch of your stuff, and I think there's at least a bunch of stuff that I did not get to. I'm gonna go drop it quickly. Jessica Cruz, Robin from the Dark Knight, the Harley Quinn stuff, which is fun. Obviously, I'm seeing what else I missed here. I don't think I missed anything else. As far as this, but there's a bunch of other stuff that I missed on your Facebook page or Instagram page. But I don't want to keep you here all night. I don't. I would like to start watching actually Dragon Ball. I'm 2 episodes away from the first arc ending. Super fun.
Okay.
I got the Goku Jackie Chun fight coming, guys.
Okay, well,
But
well, just to say, Andrew, it was great to be on your podcast, and I thank you for your invitation. It was a lot of fun. It was actually the first podcast that I ever made in English, let alone a podcast. But it was a lot of
where
fun.
can people find you? Where can people support you? Where can people check out your work? When
Yeah,
are you going to be getting prints and all that fun stuff? Because people want to buy this stuff now.
well, they can find me on my fan page. It's The Art of Eduardo Guzman. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. It's just pretty much all my accounts are the same. It's E Guzman Art, and it's I'll be putting out very soon a new project with Ben Lacey that's gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of action with a lot of sexy ladies, and also I'll be probably by after by mid of the year, I'll be doing a little short story. Maybe it's kind of like a horror story. So it's gonna be the first time I make a comic for myself. I have already the story. So there's gonna be a lot of things happening. And for you, my friend Andrew, just to make sure that we get something out of this podcast, if you need just to update one illustration, one drawing for your channel, for your podcast, I'm more than available to do one for you totally free. And well, as a symbol of our friendship, of our newly found friendship, that I am at your service for one specific commission for you.
Well, I'm gonna throw it live to you right now. So my elf is up there, and I'll give you carte blanche to draw that elf however sexy you want to draw her in any which way, completely having a blast in any which way you want to do it. And I'll send you a better photo of her and a few other photos so you could have fun with it.
Send it to
Just
me.
not topless.
No, no, no,
I
no,
want
no.
a
I
photo.
don't. I don't do topless thing or anything. I do sexy. I do nice. I do clothed.
You can do it however you want to do it, and I'm open to it. And yeah, definitely. And I'll post it everywhere. It'll be fun. It'll be all over. It might become the background for a while on this stuff, and maybe with all your logo stuff on there too, and all your contact information
You
as
got
a
it.
return favor. And
We're
yeah,
gonna
but
make something.
it's your however you want to do it, because I don't tell artists how to do their job.
No, and I'm gonna do it especially for you. I'm gonna make it special. And well, thank you for having me on the show. And well, let's hope this is not the only time we talk. And maybe sometime we can make another one with Ben. Maybe when we present the next big project from Shark of War creator with the thing that we love the most.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think we're far from over because there's so much more we could have talked about. But my voice is getting hoarse. But I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. You have to support indie content creators. So one of the things, the way you go about doing that, and one of the things I keep on saying is you have to follow them on social media. You got to comment on their social medias. You got to share out their content. You got to say, hey, how are you? If you like what you heard, even if you only heard 30 minutes of this, and you want Eduardo on your podcast, reach out to him. I'm sure he's more than happy to be on a bunch of other shows, as well as if somebody wants a commission, I'm sure that they can get in contact with you on Facebook and they can get a
Great,
commission.
great.
Or better yet, I got a better idea. You know what it is? You do sick covers, and you know what it is? You gotta, get a cover from this guy because he's gonna slay dragons. So I'm sure that it's somebody has a book, and at some point I will have a book, and I know exactly who's on that my list to call. You're on my list to call for a
Thank,
cover. Hey,
thank
you
you.
might even be on my list to call to do the interiors
All
when I
right.
get my stuff up and running.
Let's see, Andrew. Let's see. But first, we're gonna make that elf something
So,
special.
but I'm also gonna just tout myself real quick. Obviously, Pop Anime Comics is all my social medias. So follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page, website. My other show is Pop Anime Comics Lounge. That's all free. All my shows are free to listen to, enjoy. If you would like to support this show, Redbubble is where you can buy a T-shirt. You can buy the metal card on eBay. I have other things out there as well where promo code BCW Supplies. Guys, it's 10% off. I just placed a $100 order and I saved myself $10. So obviously it does work. It is very helpful, and things are expensive, and also things are backlogged. So if I can save you money and you help this show out because it's an affiliate link, everybody's happy. Everybody's getting a discount. I'm referring a good company business, and it's all good. I have other sponsors from previous episodes. So if you like what you heard on another episode, please use my other sponsors, because again, you're helping me out, you're helping their business out, and again, everybody's winning, because I believe there are only win-win situations in life. And if everybody's not winning, then it's not a good deal, I feel. So that's everything about me. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Well, thank you so much. This is an awesome show, and thanks for everyone who said fine things on the comments. And thank you, Andrew. And this is not the end, but barely the beginning.
I don't think I could have said it any better myself, everybody. That is a wrap.